Kicking off May, we had Sserafim come back with their first studio album, Unforgiven. A little under 7 months removed from their previous comeback, Anti-Fragile. The hype online was real for this comeback because Anti-Fragile was really, really good. Calling it a smash hit would be an understatement. This song propelled them to the top of the fourth generation girl group race. Fearless was an okay debut. The title track was fine. A lot of people really loved the B-sides, including myself, but Anti-Fragile was crazy successful for them. With the Latin pop and trap influences, it really leans heavily into its reggaeton. Reggaeton is not a new concept to K-pop, it's been used before, but it's rare to see a K-pop group lean exclusively into that sound. It was a Song of the Year candidate for me. In fact, I believe it was my second favorite Song of the Year behind Love Dive from IVE. It was really, really good. So this new Unforgiven comeback and their first studio album is pretty hyped up by the community because Sserafim is a big name now. But reactions initially to this album have actually been surprisingly negative from what I've seen. I believe there are a few large reasons for this, and I will say it's only been about a day since it's come out, so a lot of these opinions that I see are definitely going to change. I've talked to a lot of people who have said that Sserafim's a group in which their title tracks seem to grow on them over time. I'm someone who on first listen did not actually like Anti-Fragile all that much. I thought it was a bit boring, and then I kept listening to it and I started to get the vibe that it was given out. I also think it's important to divide this into two sections. This studio album includes old stuff and new stuff. We'll go over the old stuff and the new stuff separately, and I'll give you my thoughts about that, and then talk to you about why I think people may dislike this comeback. But first, I want to talk about some of the backlash the comeback received before it even happened. The first wave of hate when the album art was revealed for the various albums. And Sserafim have had a very simplistic design for their albums. Fearless was simplistic. I actually liked Anti-Fragiles because now bear in mind I may pronounce this badly, a kintsugi, which is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending them back together with gold infusions. The gold streak is supposed to resemble a scar. Even though this album art is very simplistic, I'll give it a pass because I do really like the deeper meaning behind it. That's fine. What's not fine is taking an album and looking like you threw it into a pile of mud and they just picked it up and said, here, this is the album art. I get that these various albums are supposed to resemble kind of like burn marks and stuff, but it just does not look good. It looks very ugly, and for that reason, this album got a ton of backlash. I saw a lot of people saying they weren't even going to purchase the album physically because of how ugly it looked, which could legitimately impact its selling numbers. Now, the pre-orders still went crazy. I think they're sitting at like around 1.3, 1.4 million. But when your album art direction is that bad that people are saying they physically won't buy the album, it's not a good thing. The next wave of hate to hit this album is when the track listing was revealed, and there was a lot of controversy because only half of the album's songs are new. There were 3 2023 versions of tracks off of their first debut Fearless EP, and then there were 3 tracks off of their Anti-Fragile EP, and then there were 7 new tracks. And this rubbed people the wrong way because this album was somewhat being advertised as their first full-length project, but I think that studio albums, specifically in K-pop, most of the time include previous tracks. We've seen groups do this before. In K-pop, it seems like what a studio album has become a bit muddied. Now, most albums are studio albums, but there are different types of albums, including studio, live albums, compilation albums, solo albums. When it comes to K-pop, most albums are studio albums, or at least most full-length albums are studio albums. However, there are plenty of groups in the past that have released prior material with a new album. You also have to factor in things such as variety shows and other promotions, and you have to wonder if Sserafim maybe just didn't have time to get into the studio to make a 12-song long album. I don't want to make it seem like that's me defending the fact that there are 6 previous songs of this album. I don't like that, we'll get to it, but there are some caveats that I do want to bring up, and whether people like to admit it or not, I think how I've released an 11-song long, full-length, brand new album skewed the perception of this album for a lot of people. A lot of people thought that Le Sserafim were going to mirror that and drop a 11 to 12 song long album themselves. To play devil's advocate, I have been releasing only single albums up until this recent one, and Le Sserafim have been releasing EPs and mini albums up until this studio album. So Le Sserafim has been pumping out more music, it's just they're not coming back with a full-length album, which is a bit disappointing. I honestly think that is a big reason as to why people viewed this negatively. I also saw a lot of people saying that they were promoting it as a full-length album, like with 12 new songs. I don't think they ever promoted it like that. I think people are just saying that to make it seem like they deserved a 12-song long album. So let's talk about these new 2023 versions and the older songs on this album. So there are 6 older songs from their previous releases that are on this, that being the 2023 versions of The World Is My Oyster, Fearless, and Blue Flame, as well as the Hydra, Anti-Fragile, and Impurities, which are not remixed or remade versions. It's just those versions from that Anti-Fragile album. Now, I was willing to give them a chance. I saw that they were remaking some songs, and I said, hey, if these are legit remixes, I'm talking different instrumentals, maybe different chord progression, I may actually give this a pass, because if we just get newer stuff, I feel like that's okay, right? Because that's still new music. I could maybe set aside the Anti-Fragile album releases on here and say, fine, give us some new remixes, but these are not remixes. These are songs without Garam on them. And let me ask you, what is the point? And I get it, there's lore implications there. This album does follow the progression of lore we've seen with the group, but musically, why are these 3 2023 remakes on here? If it's not just to remove Garam from the group's history. Hybe, you fucked up, bro. You fucked up with the Garam situation. It's one of the few things I hold against Hybe, because they've been a relatively likable company over the last year or so, except for that Garam situation, which was handled incredibly poorly by the company. You fucked up. Take accountability. You don't need to scrub your past. There's plenty of people who still like Garam as an idol. A lot of your fans and a lot of other people have already moved on from that situation. So for you to release 2023 versions which are simply scrubbing her essentially from their discography, it just makes little to no sense to me. It just seems like a slap in the face. On top of that, there are 2 songs off of that EP that weren't remade here, that being The Great Mermaid and Sour Grapes. She's on those songs, so I don't understand why you're not remaking those as well, because the obvious implication here is that you're just trying to remake these songs without her in it, so the group can truly feel like a 5-member group, even though it's felt that way since debut. Remember, Garam was only in this group for like a week and a half for promotions. This group has basically been a 5-member group their entire history except for a week, so having these releases on this EP just makes it feel like they're trying to intentionally get rid of her. And to be honest with you, I think it's a shitty thing to do. You don't see other groups going back and remaking music that previous members were on. G-Idol is not remaking their entire discography because Soojin left. And I get the people defending it will say for lore purposes, but it doesn't make any sense to me that these songs are here, or if you're going to make them, at least include all of the songs off the EP. It's mind-boggling. And then there's the 3 songs from Anti-Fragile, which I guess choose the best songs off that album to have on here, but again, besides lore, what are they doing on here? These 6 songs being on here is lazy. It's just lazy. And look, maybe they didn't have time to record a full-length album with all their promotions and stuff they went on and all the stuff they've been doing as a group. I get it, but come on. This is just a mini album with extra steps. That's all this is. And it's really going to look kind of weird in their discography. There are groups that have done this in the past. I said this in my community board post, but groups like BTS have done this in the past, where they released previous EPs and mini albums, that being much longer than Le Sserafim's work, but still they followed the same process. So this isn't the first time that a group from Hybe or Big Hit at the time was doing stuff like this, but BTS released a lot more music, so it felt more palatable. I was really pulling for the fact that they would remix those songs. They didn't. I'm disappointed. There's no reason for these to be on the album outside of the clear lore progression that is evident, which is fine, okay, but I don't like these songs being on here. It's lazy. So let's move on to the 7 new tracks on this album, and if you're part of my Patreon, you would have already seen my album reaction and kind of brief review to these new songs. That being, I actually kind of like a few of these songs here, and I don't hate this comeback as much as what I've seen online. There is a huge reason that I've seen why people are disappointed in this comeback, and it's the fact that it's not Anti-Fragile, or it's not as good as Anti-Fragile. It's really hard to follow up a Song of the Year candidate song for any group. BTS, Blackpink, Twice, it doesn't matter. It's hard to follow that up, okay? It's been 6 years since BTS dropped Spring Day. They haven't released a single song since then that's better to me. However, that does not mean we can't appreciate and like new music that comes out. Yes, this song is worse than Anti-Fragile. I agree with you, but that doesn't mean you don't have to hate this song. And there are plenty of people out there who understand this. They know it's not as good as Anti-Fragile, but they still like it. But I've actually seen some people on Twitter or in my YouTube community board posts or just online say how, since this isn't Anti-Fragile, it's a huge miss for them and it sucks and it's a failure. That's stupid. Unforgiven is a perfectly fine song. Is it better than Fearless? Yes. Is it worse than Anti-Fragile? Yes. But there are some qualities to this song, the performance, the MV that I really like. The MV was stunning with some amazing visuals, some great choreography. The live performances they've done for it so far are really fun. The choreo is probably, it looks like, to be the most challenging that they've done so far. Thankfully, they don't make Kazuha do another ballerina move. I don't think the point choreo is quite as catchy as Anti-Fragile. I mean, Anti-Fragile was literally doing the John Wall. You know, it's still pretty good, it's cute. And the song itself with Nile Rodgers as a feature. Now, Nile Rodgers doesn't sing on this or anything. He's a very famous producer slash guitarist. But Nile Rodgers cooks up masterpieces like it's his job. Here are just a few of the songs that he's on. Fantasy by George Michael, Get Lucky by Daft Punk, I Want Your Love by Chic, Upside Down by Diana Ross, Like a Virgin by Madonna, Let's Dance by David Bowie. This dude cooks up masterpieces. Nile Rodgers himself said this was the first time he's worked with a K-pop group, so a lot of people were very excited, and I think that his feature on here is good. I think he helps a lot with the production. This song does have that Western flair influence to it without overly saturating itself with that sound, and it's the same thing for the music video. This obviously takes from the Wild West inspirations. There's horses, there's cowboy hats, but it doesn't do it too much. And that includes the production. I've seen some people say this song is overly produced. I disagree. This song is not overly produced. In fact, in some areas, I think it's underproduced. In fact, I would argue that the production of this song is probably one of their best in their discography. I really love how it sounds. The styling is fantastic outside of, you know, them kind of reusing some denim jean looks that they used during Anti-Fragile era, which don't know why the final dance scene had to have that styling. We already did that with Anti-Fragile. We already gave Chaewon this denim crop top that she already looked fantastic in. You didn't have to do it again. The vocals are really good as well. Eunchae gets to show off a little more. I think Kazuha gets some more singing parts here. And to me, that's a top 5 pre-chorus in LE SSERAFIM's discography. I really, really love that pre-chorus. However, there are some understandable issues with this song I have to point out. First being the chorus. I'm not a huge fan of the chorus. When I saw the teaser for this, I saw that portion, I said, oh, that's going to be the final chorus, because it really does sound like a final chorus you would see in a song. But I'm just not a huge fan of how it sounds. It's very empty compared to the rest of the song. I was expecting something really rugged and kind of raw, and instead I got this like cute square dance stuff, and it just doesn't reflect the vibe of the comeback. I wanted this song to kind of almost reflect the album art a little bit, right? I want it to be dirty and ashy and raw, and it's just not. The chorus is just not that to me. The song is also repetitive, and not in the best way. It does say Unforgiven like 50 times. I think it is a little less catchy than Anti-Fragile. I think they maybe overstep the bounds, like saying Unforgiven 50 million times, and it can make this song feel a bit tedious. I've seen some people say it ruined the song for them. It's catchy in a bad way, and I can see where they're coming from, but it personally did not really ruin my outlook on the song. I think it's fine. But I think the real big missing piece for this song is that it doesn't really have that it factor to it. There's no spark in this song. I saw a few people say this, and I agree with them. This song is missing that thing. I talked about this with Sweet Juice and Purple Kiss way back in, I believe it was January or February when that came out. It's missing the it factor, something. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's missing something. It's also missing a really, really good chorus, because that chorus is just okay, but it's missing some sort of it factor. And what I mean by that is there were songs in 2022 that had the it factor. Songs like Love Dive by IVE, Ditto by New Jeans by the end of the year, Anti-Fragile by Sserafim just had something to them that you just couldn't help but keep listening to the song. Even with the Nile Rodgers feature on this song just does not have that. And I think that's what a lot of people are feeling. So is the song disappointing? My answer is it kind of just depends on your outlook on it. I don't think it's disappointing because I wasn't going to compare this to Anti-Fragile in the first place. And I think people who immediately compare this to Anti-Fragile immediately after they listen to it, I think you're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. I think it's totally fine to retrospectively compare comebacks. We do that when we rank stuff, right? Naturally. But I think immediately doing it after a song comes out and saying, ugh, this isn't Anti-Fragile, you're really doing yourself a disservice when you're looking at this song. I think you're actually skewing your view about the song by thinking that way. This song is not Anti-Fragile, and it doesn't need to be. It's not trying to be. I saw some people say it sounds like Anti-Fragile. No, it does not. It does not sound like Anti-Fragile. I think the reason some people may say they sound similar is because of the pacing. Unforgiven has 104 BPM, while Anti-Fragile is 105 BPM. They're played in different keys. Unforgiven is in E minor, while Anti-Fragile is in B minor. But I think the pacing of the song feels similar, and for that reason, a lot of people were like, oh, this sounds too much like Anti-Fragile. It doesn't. There's no Nile Rodgers in Anti-Fragile. There are no Wild West guitar sounds in Anti-Fragile. That's a reggaeton dance pop song. They're not similar. I know I just spent 6 minutes talking about Unforgiven, but let's talk about some of these new B-sides, including the new intro, Burn the Bridge. Really pretty cinematic that came along with this. It's my favorite intro, in my opinion. I really love it instrumentally. It's very climactic. That final section where it goes into those chorus vocal chants is very pretty. I really like that. That would be a great concert opener kind of thing. No Return is cute. It's not my favorite song, but I don't hate it. I saw some other people say they really dislike this song. Why is the song in the album? I think it's personally fine. It's a cute song. It's got a cute dance to it. This is a great, encore song, right? Sserafim leaves the stage, their concert's over, and then they run back out like every other K-pop group with their merch shirts on and start singing this. It's just a good encore piece. Then there's the song Eve, Psyche, and the Bluebeard's Wife. This song draws inspiration from mythology. It is 3 women that did something forbidden to break out of their respective worlds. For Eve, she got kicked out of the Garden of Eden for her crime of eating from the forbidden tree. Bluebeard's wife being able to finally bring his murdered ex's justice and a proper burial. And then there's Psyche, who is a Greek goddess, and her name kind of means souls or wings, which is obviously what we see with a lot of the fallen angel pictures and Sserafim's books and stuff, especially with Kazuha, who has that one wing she fucking rips off during Unforgiven. Disgusting sound that goes with that, by the way. I hated that. So the mythology is super cool behind this, and the song itself is even better. Holy shit, this song is great. I love the production behind this song. This is a club jammer through and through, and they just sounded like they had a lot of fun making this song, and in my opinion, it is the best song off the album, and one of my favorite B-sides of the year. Fear Not is actually a ballad-esque song that I kind of like because of its faster BPM compared to some more contemporary ballads, but to me, this really just sounds like an older Taylor Swift song. In fact, you could probably give this to a country singer in the United States, and they could probably rock this instrumental. I know Taylor Swift fans hate it when I compare K-pop to Taylor Swift music, when there are groups that make music that sounds similar to Taylor Swift, but you cannot tell me this does not sound like a pre-1989 Taylor Swift song. I've listened to her entire discography, okay? Flash Forward is pretty cut and dry, mellow synth pop, and it's fine. It's not one that's going to be on repeat for me, but it's not a song I would skip either. And then the final song, which is Fire in the Belly, channels some sort of inner Shakira they had in them. I love this song. You got the chanting at the end. You got Yeonjun serving with her vocals on here. I love this song. This is my second favorite song on the entire album, if we're not including Anti-Fragile. So there are a few B-sides here that I genuinely like. Like, this whole project is not a mess like I've seen some people try to say it is. Just because Unforgiven is not the best title track doesn't mean the rest of the B-sides suck or anything. I actually like quite a few of them. I don't hate any of these songs. Again, there are songs like Fear or Not or Flash Forward, which I don't love as much, but there are also songs like, Fire in the Belly and Eve Psych and the Bluebeard's Wife, which are hits to me. Some of my favorite B-sides I've listened to this year. Also, the stage presence for Eve, Psyche, and the Bluebeard's Wife. Dude, just watch. That
girl in the black, I think I'm in love with her.
I wish for what's forbidden.
This album, especially for their first studio album, is just a bit weird. We get 13 songs, 6 of them are not new, 3 of those old songs are just scrubbing a member from their history, and the 7 new songs are fine, but they're not cohesive in any way. Again, just like I said about IVE, and a criticism about their album is that it wasn't cohesive, it's not cohesive here either. Doesn't mean the B-sides are bad. The new B-sides we got, I think, are perfectly fine and live up to the normal Le Sserafim B-side standards that we're used to. And we have a title track that's being called Bad because it's not Anti-Fragile. All in all, I would say that this is Le Sserafim's most divisive comeback. Anti-Fragile was a hit. Most people really love that song, and, their debut had some mixed opinions for some different reasons, but I think people have grown to really like a lot of those songs, and even Fearless as a song. But never with the group have I seen a fan base in general and just the greater K-pop community be so divided over a comeback. A lot of people really love this, and a lot of people really do not like this. Again, it's perfectly fine to take either stance. It's music, it's all subjective. You can hate this or feel disappointed if you want. But I do think there's a lot of people online who have kind of hopped on the negativity train and kind of just focused on all the bad things about this comeback, whether it be maybe the fact that they don't really like Unforgiven as much, so for that reason the whole album sucks, or the fact that the album art is terrible, or that we got 6 older songs. I tend to be a half glass full type of person, so I look at the more positive aspects of this album, like the fact that there are some really fantastic new B-sides, the fact that the whole concept and styling for the new comeback was really good in my opinion, or the fact that we might be getting a tour after this album release later this year. This album is going to sell copies, and it's probably going to get backlash for reasons that I've stated within the video, but I mean, Hybe's probably not going to care, Swiss Music's not going to care, they're going to keep doing their thing. I'm disappointed that the album has 6 older songs on it. I don't like it. It's a lazy move by the company. I'm disappointed that this song is missing that it factor that I really wanted for it. This concept, Now Rogers, it had the potential to be the song of the year, the de facto song of the year, but it's not. It's missing that spark. It's kind of like when you go to a basketball game in person and you expect your favorite star player to drop 30, 20, and 10 because you're there, and then in reality they have a bad shooting game and score like 9 points and 2 rebounds, right? It's disappointing, it sucks, but you kind of just have to move on and deal with it, you know what I mean? I'm not disappointed, I'm more confused with the approach of this comeback and what they were doing. But I do think this song has the potential to grow on people just like Fearless did, and just like Anti-Fragile did. It's only been a day, and I've seen a lot of the immediate reactions, people saying it's a 3 and a 4 out of 10. It ain't that bad. Alright, I'm gonna tell you this right now, it's not a 4 out of 10. It's better than a 4 out of 10. Give it 3 months and you're going to be dancing the choreo and singing along in your head. I promise. I already found myself singing some of the lyrics from the song, and it came out like earlier, today. So It'll grow on people, but I do understand why some people are disappointed about this release. There are justifiable reasons to be disappointed. But whether or not this comeback is disappointing, you gotta admit, they be serving this on stage so far. Chaewon's stage presence never gets old. It really doesn't. Anyway, tell me what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video.